Hi there, everyone. Greg Marchand here with another episode of the Virtual Instructor-Led Training Program brought to you by the Service Sales Academy. In this episode, I want to talk to you about the magic of goal setting because it really can be magical to both you as an individual and as an organization. Now, just to put some context in this, it doesn't matter, the things we're going to talk about work as well for you, the individual, or your organization as a whole, should you be wanting to grow the organization or move towards a new building or a new piece of equipment or anything like that. Change is happening all around us all the time. And in 2019, when we're filming this, it's never been more apparent. There's the Consumer Electronics Show is going on right now, and if you look at some of the news coming out of that, it's mind-boggling the technology that we have. And that technology is going to change our organizations. It's going to change our businesses. The automotive industry is going to change unbelievably, dramatically, drastically in the next 5 to 10 years. And it's going to affect us. And so all this change is happening. We've got to change as well. And one way of making sure that we change is to set goals. And if you're not changing, growing, then you're dying. I mean, that's the old adage, right? If you're not growing, you're dying. Well, I would modify that to say if you're not changing, you're dying, because we have to keep up. And whether we want to change or not, that's not really the point. We have to. And so goal setting is a really, really important part of making the necessary changes to ensure that we as individuals grow in our careers, and as organizations, we get better and change with the times. Goals lead to growth, right? And some will say, oh, they give you purpose. They give you a reason to get out of bed in the morning. I don't know if many of my goals have ever done that, but either way, goals give you a target to try to attain, and they fuel that accomplishment. As a human being, as an individual, you need something to strive for. That's if you look into cognitive psychology at all, you'll learn that that's the way our brains are wired. Once we attain something, we're always saying, oh, it's never enough, because that's the way our brains are wired. Once we accomplish a goal, once we attain something, then we're looking for the next goal. We're looking for the next thing. And so as a human, we need the growth, we need the purpose, we need the sense of accomplishment. We need all of these things psychologically. So goals fit us really, really well as an individual. As an organization, I would suggest they do the same. I've watched goals that I've set with individuals in some of the client organizations I work with. We'll set individual goals that have fueled the growth of the organization, and in some cases have given purpose to why we do what we do as an organization. It's that target, and sometimes it's small. Sometimes it's just, hey, you know what? Let's get better at this, and we feel a sense of pride from it. Sometimes it's, gee, you know what? We need a new lift. Okay, so how much does that cost? And how much do we have to grow to get that? And it's a small goal. It's a small target, some might argue. But you know what? It's a goal. It's a target. Sometimes it's just, hey, if we hit this target, we get food at the end of the week, right? Food motivates. Recently at the end of 2018, we set a short-term goal with a client. Because of the way the holiday fell, they had to be open the 4 days around Christmas and New Year's, and it was awkward. You were probably there too. And at first it was, well, you know what? I know we're going to be slow. We'll clean the shop. We'll do this. We'll do that. And I said, whoa, hold on. If the folks that have to be here, which I totally understand, they have to be here. Why are we just letting it wash away? Why don't we try to hit a target? Why don't we try to have the best week we've ever had in 4 days? And we created a goal incentive program, not for food, but for money. If they hit a certain revenue target, then they would get 1% of that week's revenue. Well, holy smokes, the owner was mad at me for setting that because they blew away the goal, and the goal was high. And for me, it accomplished more than just the money thing. And for the money that we paid them, it doesn't matter to me. It proved to them what they could really do at the end of the year on a week that was kind of So goals as an organization can really fuel growth, and they can give purpose to what we do every day. So goals are really, really important. Now, they've got to be clear goals to be effective. And oftentimes in the automotive service industry, we talk about using metrics, these numbers that we measure all the time, whether it's productivity or gross profit or total revenue or repair orders per service advisor. Whatever it might be that you measure all the time, it's very objective. If you can't use these metrics, if the goal that you want is difficult to tie to these metrics, you've still got to be as clear as possible. Now, along those lines, you'll see a lot of people talk about SMART goals. I haven't preached SMART goals most of my career. They were introduced to me many years ago. And they certainly serve their purpose. If you Google SMART goals, you'll find thousands of videos out there of people talking about these. I chose to include this here, even though I'm not a disciple of SMART goals, because it makes a lot of sense, okay? And it fits, and it's going to work for most of you. So let's look at what a SMART goal is. It's a goal that we've ensured is specific, it's measurable, it's something we can attain. It's realistic, although some will swap out the realistic word with reasonable. All right, I tend to like realistic over reasonable, but you choose. And it's a timely goal. So let's look at exactly what this means as it relates to those really clear goals. When a goal is specific, it's very detailed, and everyone that hears about the goal or has to work with the goal understands what it looks like when that goal is accomplished. If we just leave it kind of ambiguous and say, hey, you know what, let's grow revenue by 20%. And we never say what that 20% number is, because I didn't know what last year's revenue was, and so I can't even figure out on my own what 20% is. I don't know. It's not a clear goal. It's not a specific goal. If we say, let's grow revenue by $200,000 in the next 12 months, that's a very clear goal. I can picture in my mind what $200,000 looks like, right? And I know when I'm there. So if it's just, let's grow by 20%, and I don't know what the old number was, I don't know what the new number is, I don't even know when we're there. So the goal's not going to motivate me. So your goal needs to be very specific. And when I say specific, I mean detailed. What will it look like when we are there? How do we know we attained it? It's got to be measurable, and that's the metric thing I was talking about, right? Most of the time we tie it to a specific metric because the numbers that we measure, the things that we measure in the industry, they're objective. They're a number, they're data that we gather, and for any human being to understand how they're doing against a goal, they want to see those milestones. They want to see those steps along the way. They want to, for a technician, if you've watched the technician productivity goal setting video, for a technician, we post those numbers on the board every day and every week, and I can look at that and I can see we're measuring productivity. Here's where I am right now, and I know in my mind where I want to be, or I see on the board what our goal is. So we need to be able to measure whatever it is we're trying to strive for. And I think the A in SMART is probably the most important thing to me. It's probably what I use with goal setting with other people the most. And I don't think we pay enough attention to it. I think that we have to recognize that as an individual, we have to feel like we can accomplish something. If we don't feel like we can get there, truly know, yeah, dude, I can do that. I've done it before. Then it might feel like I'm not even going to try. And I feel that it's far better to set multiple short-term goals that are easy to accomplish than a single long-term goal. And that's why I focus technicians a lot on productivity. And I don't push them hard. I push them for another half hour a day or an hour a day if they're at 30 hours. It's these short-term goals that lead to the long-term accomplishment. For example, recently we had a technician at a client's that just wasn't giving us the hours that we needed him to give us, and it wasn't feeding him. He was straight flat rate, so he had some incentive to do it, but he actually took a second job because he couldn't pay his bills, and yet it was affecting his work hours, and he's given us 32 billable hours a week. And it wasn't good for anybody. And so I went back through payroll and I said, well, what's this guy's max? I mean, what did he do when you guys were really busy and he was here 5 days a week and busting his tail? And his max was 52 hours. So he's given us 32 now, and he's capable of doing 52. So where do you set a goal? Because we need that goal to be attainable. So do you set it at 54 because his max was 52? And so, he should feel like he can do 54? No, because he's too far from that right now. I don't want anybody looking at that goal and seeing it just miles out there and go, I can't, I'll never get there. So, we set it at 40. And yeah, you might argue, yeah, but Greg, that's still, 8 hours, 10 hours a week more. Okay, but if he's there 40 hours a week, he should be able to give us 40 hours. I mean, he's capable of giving us 52 in a 5-day week. And so we set it at 40, and we'll bump it to 42, and then we'll go to 44. And we'll take these baby steps so that the goal is attainable. Because the more we attain the goal, the more we realize we can do this. We can do this. And they tend to strive further and work harder for it. All right? So we've got specific, we've got measurable, we've got attainable. And those things work really, really well together right now. The R is realistic, and to me, it really relates to attainable. It's giving them a goal that they think they can accomplish. But the other really, really important piece with these goals here is don't give somebody a goal that they don't have control over. In the past, I've watched organizations pay a service advisor on gross profit. So they gave him a bonus based on gross profit, but they didn't have control over gross profit. They couldn't control certain expenses that were in the gross profit calculation. So you give me a goal of a certain percent of gross profit, and I can't get there because I don't have control over it. Well, what kind of a goal is that? What kind of incentive is that? It's not. So make sure that they and the organization have the tools that they need, the control that they need to get to that goal. Because without those tools and without that kind of control, they're going to say, well, this whole thing's just bogus. Why am I even going to bother? Okay, so make sure it's realistic in terms of, do they have enough control in this environment for them to accomplish that? Do they have what they need to accomplish that? And sometimes it's a matter of asking them, do you have what you need to really feel like that goal is attainable? And look, some people will tell you no just to tell you no. All right? And this is where I'll give a little bit. I'll say, okay, what do you need? And as long as they don't come out with something that's tens of thousands of dollars, I might go, okay, tell you what, if I give you that, you think you can hit that goal? All right, then I'm going to do that for you. I want to see you hit the goal. And so it just kind of takes a little bit more of the excuses away. And then the goal's got to be timely. And in other words, we've got to have a time period within which we're going to accomplish the goal. We can't just leave it open-ended. Hey, you know what, I'd like to hit $1 million. And I hear that from a lot of my clients. I'd like to hit $1 million a year in revenue. Okay, by when? Oh, I don't care by when. That's just my goal. Well, it's not a goal if it's not timely. If you tell me I want to hit it this year, okay, well, that changes the playing field, doesn't it? Well, then there's a whole bunch of stuff we got to do right now. If you want to tell me you want to hit that in 10 years, all right, then let's break that down into growth per year over the next 10 years. We've got to have a time period within which we're going to accomplish the goal, or there's no urgency. So the timeliness piece creates the urgency. And in my opinion, I think that both individuals and organizations should have short-term goals and long-term goals. Never have an open-ended goal, right? Because there's just no urgency there. But if the long-term goal is 12 months out, I think that might be too far out. Then let's break the long-term goal into shorter-term goals so that, we'll track this every week, every month, every quarter, whatever it might be, so that we make sure we stay on track for that long-term goal. So that's SMART goal. Now, one more note on short-term versus long-term. Short-term goals are great for proving to someone they can learn a new skill or a habit. Short-term goals are really, really good at changing habits. All right, if they're SMART, if they're specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely, you can use a 30-day goal to change a new habit. You can use a 30-day goal or a 60-day goal or a 90-day goal to teach a new skill. We talk about that in the onboarding video for new employees. Have short-term goals as to what you want them to accomplish. We could call them expectations, but let's call them goals. And they move you towards a new skill or a new habit. All right? And as I mentioned earlier, short-term goals can also be used as milestones for the long-term goal. And I really like to use them for that. The long-term goals are really good for developing organizational consistency, for honing a process, for maybe stretching an organization or stretching an individual to grow into something that, man, I never thought we could do this. Okay? So you might make the argument that short-term goals are more important than long-term goals. But the long-term goal, psychologists would say, is just as important. Just break it into those smaller goals, those milestones, and it relates back to that measurable piece, right? The long-term really should be broken into the milestones, I believe. At the very least, if you've got long-term goals or you've got individuals within the organization, or maybe for yourself, you've got long-term goals that you didn't break into milestones or short-term goals, then look, check in along the way. Have some sort of accountability partner so that you can have them ask you, hey, how you doing? And keep you focused on that long-term goal. It's really hard sometimes to have a 12, 24, 36-month goal because it's just too far out there. And even 30 days sometimes is too far out there for certain people. Okay, so break those long-term goals into smaller, smart goals, and you'll get to that long-term goal. I promise you. You can use goals for all kinds of stuff, all right? And these are organizational ideas, but we can use it for increasing production or improving our follow-up process or growing our gross profit because maybe we want to build a new building or hey, we need to improve some skill sets of technicians or service advisors, or we want to grow the receptionist into a service advisor because she's got the skills to do it, but she needs certain things. As an individual, you can use it to grow within your own career path. So, but you have to have goals, and if you don't have the goals, you're just going to leave this up to fate. And I don't want you to do that. Goals take the fate thing out of it. Goals give you the control over whatever you want to accomplish. So use the goals and make sure they're smart goals. Ask what goals an individual would like to accomplish. Ask yourself. You can sit down for 5 minutes. Just do it for 5 minutes and brainstorm what you'd like to accomplish in the next 12 months. And once you have that list, then go ahead and set some goals. But here's the thing. Put goals in writing. Put goals in writing because it creates more accountability if you write it down. Now, if you write it down and just put it in your pocket, fine. No problem. Go ahead and do that. But it's even more powerful if you find an accountability partner. I have a software program that I use because, whenever somebody puts their goals in it, it's called UltiGoal. And whenever somebody puts goals in it, I can easily be the accountability partner. The system can be the accountability partner. So I use it with a lot of my clients because we'll put the short-term and long-term goals in there, and we'll set dates for milestones which we want to accomplish, short-term goals. And if that date shows up and they haven't checked off they accomplished it, hey, I get an email, boss gets an email, manager gets an email, they get an email. And so it's an electronic accountability partner. But if you just write your goals down, brainstorm what you want to accomplish, break that into a bunch of short-term goals, and make them very specific and very timely, put it in writing, and keep it on your cell phone, stick it in your pocket every day, find an accountability partner, and you're going to be amazed at what you'll accomplish. There is real magic in goal setting. There really is. Sometimes just having the goal is enough. Sometimes just wanting the new car is enough. Other times, you've got to have the goal and visualize it every single day. You'll get it even faster. And cognitive psychologists will tell you this. There's all kinds of literature out there, especially in the age of the internet now, about how this works, the visualization and all of that. Trust me, it works. It really does. But if you want to speed it up, you've got to have the goal. You've got to visualize the goal every single day. 2 or 3 times a day is even better. And then, you know what? Add an accountability partner. Add a coach to it. Because that's going to speed things up even more. And the bigger the goal, the further it is out there, the more effort you're going to have to put into visualizing, reminding yourself, finding an accountability partner, and staying on track. But you can do it, and there is real magic in goal setting. So go do some. It'll keep you and the organization moving forward. Whatever you want to use it for, it will keep it moving forward. It's a very intentional way of embracing the change that you want and the change that you need. Take the long-term goals, break them into short-term goals, use that SMART goal setting process, find yourself an accountability partner, and visualize the accomplishment of that goal every single day. And you'll be sure to keep up the great work and never stop learning.